Okay, let's unpack this proposal for the Australian baking industry.
Yeah, it's quite something.
We're diving deep into a detailed document, laying out a plan for renewal. It's for two pretty long-standing organizations, the National Baking Industry Association, NBIA, and Baking Industry Training Australia, or BTE.
And the sources make it incredibly clear these organizations are at a really critical point, a real juncture.
Hmm.
They're facing, well, significant declines in both membership for MBIA and apprentice numbers for BETA.
And the document seems to point to why, right? Some past strategies really missed the mark.
Absolutely, impacting everything from BETA's reputation, apparently, to even just their basic online presence.
The industry needs a new direction. Desperately, it sounds like.
It really does.
Yeah.
So our goal here in this deep dive is to understand this proposed plan. The document calls it a bold new chapter.
Bold new chapter. What could that actually mean for, the future of Australian baking?
Well, that's the big question.
And it sounds like this isn't just tinkering around the edges. A few small tweaks.
No, not at all. The proposal actually uses the phrase full reset.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and it outlines a pretty comprehensive vision built on 4 core pillars covering basically everything: membership, the team, digital strategy, and, crucially, how they plan to bring in the next generation of bakers.
Okay, let's start right there then. Setting the scene based on the sources. What are the core challenges facing NBIA and BETA right now? What's the current picture?
Well, the numbers paint a pretty stark picture, you know.
Right.
NBIA membership, it's plummeted from around 300 down to just 120 members.
Oof.
Yeah. And BETA apprentice numbers have fallen too, from about 300 down to only 220.
That's not just a dip, is it? That's a serious contraction in both areas.
It really is.
So what were some of the specific issues the source points to? What led to that decline?
Well, the document really pinpoints the impact of one particular unsuitable trainer at BETA. Apparently, their training wasn't genuine, just running through a production list sort of thing.
Right, not real training.
Exactly. And this led to student complaints, and it seems it severely damaged BETA's reputation. Bakery owners became really reluctant to send their apprentices there, understandably.
And the insight from the research mentioned in the document is critical here, isn't it? About trainer quality.
It is, yeah. The research cited just emphasizes how fundamentally important trainer quality and competence are, for apprentice satisfaction and ultimately for the program's success and its reputation. It's not just a nice to have.
No, it's central.
Absolutely central.
And it sounds like they haven't exactly been hitting it out of the park online either.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
The digital presence is described as, well, poor. Their Facebook page, okay, it has 5,000 followers, but posts consistently get fewer than 10 likes.
10 likes with 5,000 followers.
Yeah, incredibly low engagement, and they're completely absent from major platforms like Instagram and X, and their YouTube presence. It's limited to just old clips from other companies, not even their own content.
It's like they're shouting into an empty room online. And their methods for finding those apprentices, they sound pretty inefficient too.
Oh, definitely. The document highlights the inefficiency of relying on individual bakery visits.
Right.
The proposer's own experience last year, visiting 230 bakeries across the NSW coast.
230.
Yep. And that enormous effort yielded only 50 apprentices.
Wow.
Think about that return on investment. That's a massive amount of time for a pretty limited return, especially compared to what you could potentially do digitally.
And you have to factor in that generational shift, don't you? Younger people just interact differently, especially with professional organizations.
Absolutely. The sources note that younger generations don't automatically see the value in association membership like maybe previous generations did. It can seem outdated, maybe irrelevant, unless it offers something tangible, modern, easy to access. The research cited shows lower union density among youth, which highlights this broader trend. Young people often have limited knowledge of what associations actually do.
Right. They might see them as only necessary when there's a problem.
Exactly. So if they're not offering clear, modern value, and they're not marketing themselves effectively where young people actually are,
Then they're missing out completely.
precisely, the lack of professional marketing and proactive engagement has severely hurt their ability to connect, both with potential members and, crucially, inspiring that next generation to even join the industry.
And that impacts sponsors too, presumably.
Yes, it undermines sponsorship confidence because, well, true member numbers aren't easily disclosed. It makes it hard to prove their reach or influence.
The document also touches on the need for strong internal policies, like safeguarding. Is that mentioned?
Yes, it mentions the absolute necessity for robust safeguarding policies and a supportive environment for everyone involved. It notes that instances involving sensitive issues, if not handled with complete transparency and, appropriate action,
Yeah.
can severely damage reputation and trust. It actually describes past handling as very poor management. So this is highlighted as a fundamental area that needs to be addressed for any future growth. It has to be right.
Wow. So looking at those numbers, those underlying issues,
Yeah.
it's clear this is not a situation where small adjustments are going to cut it.
Not at all. The source is explicit. This isn't a quick fix. It requires a serious 3-year strategic commitment and, importantly, significant investment to truly rebuild and consolidate their position.
Right.
The insight here is that the proposal understands the depth of the problem. It demands a long-term funded strategy.
Which brings us to this concept of a full reset. Given those deep challenges, the need for a long-term fix, the document calls for something radical. What does the proposal actually mean by that?
It means fundamental change, not just tweaking. The proposer connects this idea to the legacy of a former president, Pat O'Brien,
Okay.
who is described as making historic, bold changes back in the day, things like establishing BETA itself and really empowering good people.
So it's drawing inspiration from past boldness?
Exactly. The insight isn't just referencing the past, it's suggesting the scale of change needed now is comparable to the boldness required back then to kickstart significant growth.
Okay, so a fundamental overhaul inspired by that history. And this reset is built around a new vision, built by bakers, for bakers, standing on 4 key pillars. Let's dive into the first one, this revolutionary membership model.
Okay, this is arguably the boldest idea in the whole proposal. They suggest making basic membership free.
Free? Really? Why free? How does that work?
Well, the insight here is to completely flip the traditional association model on its head.
Right.
The rationale is to drastically increase reach. Across Australia's estimated 4,600 bakeries and, 50,000 workers.
Huge numbers.
Instantly, they can amplify their voice because they can potentially claim thousands of members, not just 120.
Ah, I see. That makes them far more appealing and credible to sponsors.
Exactly. And crucially, the NBIA has $1.7 million in investments. The document highlights this as a unique strength that can actually help fund this initial, potentially riskier phase of going free.
Okay, free gets the numbers up, boosts the voice, appeals to sponsors. But how do they fund key services? Like that crucial IR advice, help with employment law and stuff, that must be expensive.
Right, that's where the tiered subscription comes in. For personalized, in-depth industrial relations advice, help with awards, workplace disputes, that sort of thing, and also access to advanced AI support.
Okay.
Members would pay an affordable annual fee, about $100. The document notes other associations use tiered models, so it's not unheard of.
And they think AI will handle some of the basic stuff eventually.
Yeah, the thinking is AI will soon handle routine IR queries, but the demand for personal one-on-one service from a real expert will absolutely remain.
Makes sense.
And leveraging Craig Pollard, the IR solicitor, as the go-to expert is a key part of this. The current IR service costs the association about $700 a month, but these subscription fees are designed to basically absorb those costs.
And what about those loyal 120 members?
Yeah.
The ones who stuck around through the tough times? Do they get anything?
Good question. The proposal suggests offering those current loyal members a free 3-year subscription to that paid IR service.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as a significant thank you for their steadfast support. It's about recognizing that core base.
That makes sense. But the vision isn't just limited to traditional bakeries, is it? It talks about strategically expanding to underserved segments. Who are they looking at?
Yeah, there are some fascinating areas they've identified. First, the pizza industry.
Pizza? Interesting.
Surprisingly, there's no dedicated National Association for Pizza in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, so that presents a massive, obvious gap for NBIA to potentially fill, maybe even offering beta training to pizza businesses. The document notes that pizza is already part of the Canadian Baking Association, so it shows it can fit under the baking umbrella.
Okay, pizza makes perfect sense. What else?
Cake decorators. These are incredibly skilled artisans, often operating independently or in small settings. The proposal suggests they need community resources, things an association can provide.
Right.
And the document nets a recent large cake decorating trade fair that NBIA completely missed. A concrete example of the cost of not engaging with this segment.
Okay, pizza, cake decorators,
Yeah.
and given Australia's diversity.
Absolutely crucial ethnic bakers, producers of incredibly important cultural staples, Ethiopian injera, Lebanese flatbread, Filipino pandesal, Vietnamese banh mi. The list goes on.
Yeah.
These bakers often face unique challenges and could benefit hugely from an association that understands their specific needs and traditions. The proposal highlights the need to reach out to them directly, as they're often disconnected from the wider industry network.
That feels really important. And then there's mention of something even further afield, Papua New Guinea.
Yes, this is described as a massive untapped opportunity, PNG and the broader South Pacific.
Oh, yeah, there.
Because there's a population of 9 million in PNG alone, a significant lack of formal baking training, and importantly, available aid money specifically for vocational training in these regions.
Ah, the funding is there, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. And the proposer apparently has experience in these areas. They mention recent inquiries and large companies like Pacific Foods as examples of the potential for, say, general training or specific skill set programs. The insight here is looking beyond the traditional domestic market for growth.
That's a huge scope. Free membership, pizza, cake decorators, ethnic bakers, PNG. What makes NBIA uniquely positioned to take all this on? Better than competitors, maybe.
The source really hammers home NBIA's distinct advantages. They've got over a century of history. They're nonprofit, genuinely run by bakers for bakers.
That is key.
There's that strong financial foundation, the $1.7 million in investments, a buffer for bold moves. And critically, they have BETO, the dedicated training arm.
Right, the training capability.
Exactly. The insight is this isn't just representing the industry. It's having the unique capacity to directly address the skills gap and train the future workforce. Unlike competitors like the Baking Association Australia, BAA, which the document notes lacks that training capability and financial reserves.
So they have the history, the money, and the ability to train. That is a powerful combination.
It really is. The source acknowledges that taking this bold new direction might provoke some reaction or retaliation from competitors.
Sure.
But the commitment laid out is to take the high road, supporting everyone providing services to the industry, focusing on providing services not solely for profit, leveraging members and sponsors to lift the entire industry regardless of which association they belong to or even if they belong to none.
Okay, that philosophy transitions us nicely to Pillar 2, empowering the team. What's the plan for the people on the ground?
Well, the proposal recognizes the dedication and talent of the current core team. Marty, the pastry chef, Chris, the artisan bread specialist, and Mel, the administrative manager. It suggests a $10,000 pay increase for Marty, Chris, and Mel.
A pay rise. How's that funded?
Funded by restructuring the general manager role, effectively reallocating resources to empower the operational staff who are doing the day-to-day work. They also mention considering Alicia.
And with that investment comes expanded roles, I imagine.
Yes. The team members would become active ambassadors in their territories. They'd be on the ground, recruiting those free members we talked about, and promoting BDA programs.
So more outward-facing.
Exactly. Marty and Chris, for example, would initially focus their recruitment efforts in Queensland. The insight is shifting them from purely internal roles to being frontline representatives.
And Mel, who sounds like the linchpin, the administrative manager.
The source strongly stresses Mel's need for immediate support. Like, now. It suggests hiring an assistant or maybe a marketing intern to free her up from delegated menial tasks.
So she can focus on higher level stuff.
Precisely. The insight here is recognizing that talent like Mel's needs to be leveraged effectively, not bogged down in routine admin. They plan to source candidates potentially from universities, maybe leveraging contacts the proposer has.
So investing in the people they have, giving them the tools and support they need. What about ongoing development? Training.
Yep, the plan includes monthly team meetings focused on personal development and training. They'd also seek funding for AI training.
Ah, AI again.
Specifically, how to leverage AI for things like content creation, video editing, making professional presentations. The source notes the cost of workshops for social media content training for a group could be around $2,500 to $3,500, highlighting that need for investment in these modern skills.
AI training and digital content, that sounds like a perfect lead-in to Pillar 3. A digital strategy for the modern era.
Yeah, this is a major focus because, as we discussed, their current digital presence is, well, minimal. The proposal calls for immediate development of a high-quality NBIA YouTube channel and a robust podcasting initiative.
Okay, YouTube and podcasting. What's the purpose of all this content? What are they trying to achieve?
It's strategic. The goal isn't just to be online. It's to actively celebrate and romanticize the baking industry. make it appealing, attract apprentices, promote baking as a viable, exciting career.
Right.
The insight is, while there are tons of baking channels online showing recipes, very few focus on the industry itself, its relevance, its history, its people, the career paths.
So showcasing the human side and the career path. Makes sense. What kind of content are they actually envisioning?
Yeah, the ideas are pretty diverse. Instructional tutorials, naturally. A weekly baking history moment segment, maybe led by Mel. A Meet the Baker series featuring members, leaders, sponsors, including the president, Mark.
Right, spotlighting people.
Exactly. Apprentice Spotlight, Troubleshooting Tuesdays, ingredient and equipment showcases, baking business tips, live Q&As, even international baking segments, drawing on Marty's experience or featuring those ethnic bakers we talked about. It's about creating a rich content ecosystem.
That sounds like a lot to produce. What are the growth projections, and how does this translate into revenue, if at all?
For YouTube, with consistent content, the goal is ambitious audience growth. They're aiming for an average of 2,000 views in year 1, jumping to 5,000 in year 2, and reaching 15,000 plus in year 3.
And subscribers.
Subscriber goals are 1,000 by year 1, 2,500 by year 2, and hitting 10,000 by year 3. Monetization comes through standard YouTube advertising, 2 to 12 per 1,000 views, roughly. But more significantly, through direct sponsorships, they're aiming for $20,000 in digital sponsorship revenue by year 2.
And the approach to actually making all this content sounds pretty pragmatic, too. No fancy studios needed right away.
No, exactly. The idea is to start smart, use existing good phones, selfie sticks, basic stands, clip-on mics, do the best we can with what we've got, as the document puts it.
Right.
And critically, leveraging AI tools for recording, editing, adding polish, making it look professional and impactful efficiently. The insight is you don't need $1 million setup to build a digital presence. You need good content and smart tools.
And podcasting. We know a little about that. What's the thinking there?
You certainly do. The proposal highlights podcasting's effectiveness, how listeners feel a personal connection. Research cited suggests podcast advertising can be 60% more effective for brand recall than TV, and generally has higher engagement than other digital formats. The source even points out that associations for industries like, get this, carpet layers and butchers have podcasts.
No way.
Yeah, highlighting both how far behind baking is and the immense opportunity to be the first dedicated Australian baking-specific podcast, reaching the entire industry.
Okay, so a robust digital presence to engage and attract people. That leads us to Pillar 4, focused and strategic apprentice recruitment. How does this plan differ from those old, inefficient bakery visits?
It's a complete shift. It moves beyond just brochures and knocking on doors. It's a targeted, multifaceted campaign that leverages the new marketing efforts and the team's engagement as ambassadors.
And where are they focusing first?
The initial geographic focus areas are NSW, covering Sydney, Wollongong, the Blue Mountains, and interior regions, and Queensland, so Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Western QLD.
And what are the actual recruitment goals and the projected revenue from these efforts?
The target is 75 new apprentices in NSW each year for 2 years. That's projected to generate about $2 million in training revenue over their terms.
Okay. And Queensland?
In QLD, they aim for 50 new apprentices over 2 years, so 25 per year. That's projected to add another $500,000 in revenue. The proposer mentions their past success recruiting 50 apprentices in NSW in just 1 year as a basis for confidence in these targets.
So they believe it's achievable based on past experience.
Seems so. And that PNG South Pacific opportunity we touched on earlier.
Is that part of this pillar too?
Yep, firmly within this pillar. Described again as a massive opportunity for general training or maybe specific skill set programs, they aim for a program launch in PNG by the end of year 1. Though the delivery system, how they'll actually do it, is still something they need to finalize.
And the overall growth goal for apprentice numbers?
Ambitious, but clearly defined, aiming for a total of 420 apprentices by the end of year 2. That means adding 200 new apprentices to the current 220.
And it's not just about getting them in the door, is it? Keeping them is a huge challenge nationally in vocational training.
Exactly. The plan includes a specific focus on retention, aiming for an 80% apprentice retention rate through the first 2 years.
That's high.
It is a high bar nationally, yeah. But achieving it would significantly enhance BETA's reputation for quality training and support. The insight is clear. Retention is just as important as recruitment. Maybe more so for reputation.
Okay, so beyond those 4 main pillars, the proposal outlines some key initiatives and sort of long-term aspirations. The first one, foot in the door, Sounds incredibly important
Ah.
and timely.
It really is. It's about launching free mental health counseling and support for all members.
Free for everyone.
For all members, yeah. Given the demanding hours, the early starts, potential isolation in the industry, this is presented as a crucial, high-impact initiative. They plan to partner with respected organizations like the Black Dog Institute.
And there's a unique fundraising idea linked to that, something about charcoal.
Yes, it's apparently Mel's idea, using edible activated charcoal to create black-baked products, breads, pastries, whatever, for fundraising specifically for the Black Dog charity.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it? The source positions this mental health initiative as a powerful catalyst for growth and engagement. It gives a real, tangible purpose to the association beyond just membership numbers or IR advice. It's a powerful why.
I love that. Connecting the craft directly to a vital cause and providing essential support. What about other new service opportunities mentioned?
Yeah, the proposer mentions leveraging connections, like a friend, Duncan Perkins, an accountant who is offering free accounting webinars.
Free webinars. On what?
Covering topics really valuable to bakery owners, things like point-of-sale systems, succession planning, company structure, basic but essential business stuff.
That's useful.
And they're also exploring potential partnerships with, say, leasing agents or business brokers for potential revenue streams, but always, the document stresses, maintaining the nonprofit mission focused on supporting the industry.
And looking further out, what's the big long-term dream mentioned in the document? The aspiration.
Well, the proposal paints a picture of establishing a state-of-the-art baking facility and school in NSW.
A physical hub.
Exactly. Envisioned as a physical center for the industry, a place for learning, innovation, community.
And alongside that, launching Australia's best bakery. That sounds big.
It does. Tell me about this proposed competition.
It's envisioned as the largest national competition of its kind. It would feature public voting, aiming for national TV coverage.
Wow. TV.
That's the aim. State winners and a really wide array of diverse categories designed to be inclusive.
Like what kind of categories?
Everything from classic bakery and artisan bakery to cake decorating. Awards for in-store bakeries like in Kohl's or Baker's Delight, community engagement, contribution to the industry, even specific awards for first-year apprentice and best workplace voted by employees.
That sounds like it would generate incredible buzz
I know.
and engagement.
Absolutely. It would include state functions, maybe a Grand National Bakers Ball. The vision is for all categories to be sponsored, with the new digital platforms providing comprehensive coverage, celebrating all the champions and participants.
The insight there seems to be using competition and recognition to really romanticize the industry again, create visible heroes.
Exactly. And underpinning all of this, there's a commitment to the trainers themselves.
Crucially, the plan is to attract and nurture the best trainers, pay them well, and importantly, empower them as leaders and ambassadors for BETA and the industry.
Right, not just instructors.
No, they'd be encouraged to contribute content to the digital platforms, maybe feature the competition winners. This directly addresses that issue of trainer quality we discussed right at the beginning. It frames them as absolutely essential to the future.
This entire plan, it's huge, it's ambitious. It clearly hinges on leadership that can actually execute this vision. The proposal puts forward a specific person's commitment. What's their motivation? What background do they bring?
Well, the proposer states their primary motivation is a deep, genuine commitment to the industry itself, not just, personal advancement. Their background is a really interesting blend. Practical baking experience, managed Woolworth's bakeries at 21, set up a bakery in PNG, owned their own bakery for a decade.
So hands-on experience.
Definitely. Plus, business acumen from roles like working at O'Brien's Flour alongside Pat O'Brien, and innovation experience like teaching themselves to write patents at a company called Technobake.
So they've seen the industry from multiple angles, hands-on, management, innovation. That's quite a combination.
Exactly. And the source notes their proven problem-solving ability, citing how they successfully turned around BETA NSW's reputation in just 6 months after taking over from that problematic trainer we mentioned earlier.
So they have a track record there.
Seems so. Their leadership philosophy is described as lead by example and being in the swamp, meaning being on the ground, engaging directly, not asking anyone to do something they wouldn't do themselves. They emphasize rewarding the team and operating with full accountability and transparency.
And are they willing to step into a key leadership role like general manager to drive this whole thing?
Yes, the proposer is prepared to take on the general manager role at their current salary
Okay.
if
Yeah.
the board commits to the necessary strategic investments outlined in the plan.
What are the conditions?
Funding for marketing, the AI training, the proposed team pay raises, and securing that essential assistant for Mel.
Right. So the resources need to be there.
Exactly. The insight here is their readiness to lead is contingent on securing the resources required for the strategy to actually work. It's prioritizing the plan's success over an immediate personal pay increase.
And accountability is built into the plan. How will they track progress?
Yes, the plan includes providing clear monthly reports to the president, Mark, and the board, detailing progress across all the key areas.
Finally, what does the proposer see as their key strengths in leading this bold new direction? What do they bring personally?
They list diplomacy, the ability to form close relationships quickly, and genuine empathy for colleagues in the industry. They explicitly state they love people and their stories. This is something they feel was honed by a background that included songwriting, performance, and family history in journalism. Combined with their direct industry experience, they have a strong passion to prepare the industry for the huge technological changes that are definitely on the horizon.
And speaking of those huge changes, the proposal dedicates a significant section to embracing the technological revolution.
Mm-hmm.
AI, robotics, 3D printing.
Yeah, this can feel like science fiction to some people, can't it? But how does the source see it impacting baking specifically?
It states pretty clearly this isn't science fiction. It's inevitable and coming fast. It references views from leading tech experts about the speed and disruption of this revolution. It even cites projections for artificial general intelligence, AGI, potentially being here as early as 2027.
2027, that's soon.
Very soon. And this will profoundly impact every workforce, including baking.
With job displacement likely in some areas. Is that discussed?
Yes. Reports predict displacement, particularly for office roles, repetitive tasks. The document cites things like data entry jobs as being at significant risk, but it also highlights opportunities for new skill training.
Okay, but how does this specifically affect a craft like baking? It feels so hands-on, so traditional.
Well, the insight here is nuanced. Jobs requiring high hand skills, artistry, where that handmade quality is really valued, think artisan bread production, intricate cake decorating, specialized pastry.
Right, the craft skills.
Those are seen as less immediately affected.
Right.
Also, robotics adoption might be slower in lower profit margin industries like baking, just due to the focus on return on investment and potential supply chain issues with complex components, rare earth minerals, that sort of thing.
So the human baker isn't made obsolete by this future. We still need people.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The future is envisioned as baking experts, people with practical knowledge working alongside automated systems, making the final decisions, ensuring quality, authenticity based on sensory input and experience, touch, taste, smell. AI is seen as a powerful tool for optimization, data analysis, maybe design, but human skill remains paramount, where that touch, taste, creative problem solving are needed. The source even notes how personal AI agents will soon make some current services, like comparing insurance or electricity deals, obsolete. Just another example of how quickly things are changing.
Which brings us back to Beta's critical role in all of this, doesn't it?
Exactly. Beta must be at the forefront, preparing the industry to understand and effectively use these technologies, not just be vaguely aware of them.
Right, proactive, not reactive.
And the source points out this fascinating irony, that AI itself often directs people to industry associations when they ask about technological changes in baking.
Huh, really?
Yeah, highlighting NBIA and Beta's natural and essential position to lead this conversation and potentially even find new revenue streams by providing this expertise.
Okay, this entire plan is incredibly ambitious, incredibly detailed. How do they propose to measure whether it's actually working? Are there metrics?
Yes, the document outlines clear key performance indicators, KPIs, the metrics they'll use across each of those pillars to track progress rigorously.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. For membership, specific goals for free member numbers, the paid conversion rate, member engagement levels. Team KPIs might cover things like training units claimed or how much digital content they contribute.
And the digital side.
Digital KPIs have targets for content volume, YouTube views and subscribers year by year, podcast listeners, social media engagement, and that digital sponsorship revenue goal.
And apprentices.
Crucial apprentice KPIs, track recruitment numbers in NSW and QLD, total apprentice growth, that key 80% retention rate goal, and the launch of the P&G program by the end of year one.
So clear, measurable targets for every major part of the strategy.
Yes, designed to ensure accountability and show tangible progress toward achieving that overall vision.
This has truly been a deep dive into a proposal for a full reset for the Australian baking industry. It's quite something.
It really is. It's a comprehensive plan that directly confronts the current decline while trying to embrace the future. Looking outwards for expansion, leveraging technology, and aiming to significantly expand the association's reach, relevance, and, well, purpose.
Yeah, the core idea that really emerges is this vision led by bakers for bakers, strategically leveraging NBIA's history, its financial stability, and that unique training capacity through BETA to try and secure a stronger, more dynamic future for the whole industry.
It's about revitalizing the association, isn't it? To genuinely serve and promote the diverse and evolving world of baking in Australia, preparing for the challenges but also the opportunities ahead.
Caps.
So, for you listening, given the scale of the challenges and opportunities we've just unpacked, from declining membership and the urgent need to engage new generations, to the disruption of AI and robotics, potential global expansion, and prioritizing essential needs like mental health support, what does the future truly look like for the hands-on craft of baking in such a rapidly changing world? What role should industry associations play in this future, and how can they best serve both the rich traditions of baking and that relentless march of innovation?